Hello everyone, I'm Exodia, and today I'm making the first episode in a series where I will be showing you guys the basics of scripting in Roblox Studio. If you find this video helpful and want to see more scripting videos, then don't forget to subscribe and comment down below anything you'd like to learn about. So first let's start by opening up a base plate, and then now we're going to learn about variables. So once you open up the base plate and it's all loaded, let's make a script in server script service. And then whenever you make a script, there will always be a print hello world. Basically what printing is anything you put inside of the parentheses will be printed to the output down here, which you can make visible by going to the view tab and then clicking on the output above right here. But for now, we're just going to get rid of this and talk about variables. Now, what is a variable? A variable is basically kind of like a container that you can store things in. That could either be a string of text, a number value, a decimal number value, a true or false value, an object inside of your workspace. But for now, we're going to do some basic stuff. We're just going to define a variable right here. When we do that, we write local, and then the beauty about variables is that you can call them whatever you want. So here we're going to call this dog, and so when you write a variable, there are two ways you can write it. You could write it out like this, which you have to set it equal to, so we'll set dog equal to 1, or you could write a variable, you could define the variable in the beginning of your script, and then you could set the value later. And if you do this, you're going to put an underscore before the name, and then that's it, that's all you write on the line. For now, we're going to write dog equals 1, and then we're going to make another variable, dog, a local. Let's not do cat. Let's do cat this time, and we'll make cat equal to 2. Now, these are two numbers, and so one thing that you can do with variables is you can do like math with it. You can do like basic arithmetic. So this is the next part that we could be talking about, is arithmetic. Now, let's make another variable. This time we will define it, but not set a value to it. We're gonna make this. We're gonna call this sheep. And so we're going to drop down, and sheep will be equal to dog plus cat. And then we will print sheep. Like I said, in printing, you can put anything inside the parentheses. If you want to print out a variable, say you want to do the name, you do maybe sheep, or like say you want to print out the value of a variable, you could put sheep in. If you want to put a line of text in, you'd do some open close quotations, and then you write, this is a string of text, for example. For now though, we will print out the sheep value, and we'll go back, we'll exit out of the script, and then we'll go up to this play button, and there are two things you can do. You can either press play, which will spawn it'll spawn your physical character in the place and see in the output. Now, we'll take our attention away from that. For now, let's look at the output. We'll see 3, and then if we click on that 3, it'll take us to the source in the script. You see, it added dog and cat, and it got 3, and so that's what the value of sheep was, and then we printed that value. Now, going back to pressing play up here, there's a drop down, and you can either play, which spawns you at any spawn point in the map or in your workspace, and if you do not have a spawn point, it'll spawn you at x and z coordinate 0 and y, and it'll spawn you high up in the y-axis, then you'd fall down. Or you can have play here, which sets your character to the position of your camera, and then run. If we do run, it just won't spawn the character, but we can execute code like with this script where we're just printing out a value. Now, this is a pretty basic understanding of variables and using variables for arithmetic. You can do many things for variables. Like for example, let's change the color of the base plate. We'll make a local base plate. And one thing about writing variables is that you always want the word or the name of your variable to be lowercase if it's one word. But for example, if we have 2 words, we're going to write this and then capitalize every other word after it. So this is a variable, for example, or even my variable. Many ways to write it, but anyways, we're gonna get the base plate. How we do this is we do game.workspace. Now there's actually two ways to get the workspace. You could do game.workspace, or you can simply write workspace. For simplicity's sake, well, not really. For simplicity's sake, you could write it either way, but for now, we're going to do game.workspace.baseplate. Now, right here, we are getting the base plate in the workspace so we can do things to it. We're going to change the brick color of it, so baseplate.brickcolor equals, and there are two ways you can change the color. You could either do the color, which is a RGB value from 0 to 255 on each axis, red, green, and blue. Or you can do brick color for changing the color of a part. Now, brick color, you could do brickcolor.new, and then in these parentheses, there is a bunch of selections of colors. In fact, it is one of all of these colors that you can select and change it to. For example, if you want to make it lime green, it's by default on dark stone gray for the base plate when you make a new base plate. But in the script, we're going to change it to new yeller. And so if we run the script, if we just press run, then boom, the color of our base plate changes. We can also throw in a wait here. We'll do this for 7.5 seconds, and then that'll wait 7.5 seconds before it changes the color. There's also changing it based on the color for your RGB value, so we'll do baseplate.color equals color3.from RGB. If you don't do from RGB, then you have to get a decimal value from 0 to 1. But we'll do 255, which would be fully red, 0, so it's not green at all, and 0, so it's not blue at all. And then if we run this, then this will be red. So yeah, variables are really useful. They're a very vital part about programming. You will definitely use variables throughout your time, like scripting. When you're making a game, variables will be something that you always use. For example, let's say you want to give a player a number of points. Let's say local point reward equals 50. You could set the point reward in the beginning of your script with a variable like so. Now, how can we apply variables further? Well, there's something we can do, and that's something called methods in programming. However, we also call those functions. They're basically the same thing. Now, when you want to make a function in a script, you'd always write local function, and then you can call the function whatever you want, just like with variables. It is just like with variables for naming. Let's write my function. You want to have that first word have a lowercase and that second word have an uppercase. And then after we write the name of our function, we're going to put open close parentheses, then press enter. And then you will notice this extra line drop down with the word end on it. So whatever code we put in here, so long as it's within the function name and the word end, this end declares the end of the function, basically. So whatever code we put into here will properly execute. So let's just let's make a variable beforehand. Local, we'll do a hot dog, because once again you can call variables whatever you want. And then we'll make this a string of text. So when you want to make a variable a string, then you do open close quotation marks, and you write this. You can write whatever you want in here. So for simplicity, we'll just write this is a string. All right, and then in the function we will print hot dog, and then how you call functions to cause them to execute. Now, when you define a function, it should always be near the top of your script. Typically, in my opinion, better practice is first at the top of your script defining all your variables, then right after you define your functions, and then at the bottom will be your main code. Whenever you want to call a function, it always has to be called after the function is written. So we cannot write my function. Actually, to call a function first, you'd have to write it like this. You do my function with open close parentheses, and then to demonstrate. the function was called and our string was printed. How to not call a function would be if we tried to call it prior to the function being made. As you can see, a red line gets formed under, and if we hover over it, it'll say unknown global my function. This is because the function has not technically been defined at the time of us calling it. And if we were to remove the local, making it a global function, sure, that does appear, but I believe it would still give the same error. Yep. Attempt to call a nil value. The reason this happens is because the function is nil because we have not made it yet. So it's always the best practice to write your function and then call it after the function has been written, because otherwise it will not work. And in my opinion, it's better practice to make it a local function inside a script, unless you're working with module scripts, which we will get to way down the road. But yeah, anyways, my function, and we'll do some math as well. Let's make another variable. Local bird equals 10. Local lizard equals 8. And then we could print bird times lizard. So we print both. This is a string and 80, the result of bird times lizard. This is a pretty bare bones introduction to these two topics, and while I wanna condense some topics in a way that I think is most easy to understand, I also want to introduce them slowly, because a lot of stuff when it comes to learning scripting, it can seem very overwhelming when it comes to stuff, especially with later stuff like for loops. But this is a simple demonstration of variables in arithmetic as well as functions and their application in scripting. So, if you would like me to showcase how to make other things, like say, rather than doing another video in the beginner series, if you'd like me to maybe show you how to make, let's say, a voting system, for example. I mean, that's a bit more advanced than what we're doing right now, but feel free to put it in the comments. So anyways, if you found this helpful, this is all we're going to do today. I just want to give a simple understanding. Also, forgot to mention, if you're not familiar with the Explorer and properties, I will be linking, in all the other stuff in Studio, I will be linking a good video that you can watch to learn about it. So yeah, if this was helpful, feel free to let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. So yeah, see you in the next one.